Yeah, you would have thought there'd be a bit of competition between two Red Bull drivers, but maybe a little bit of fair competition. I wouldn't imagine there'll be any massive dives. We do indeed have a formation lap here then. So, the drivers making their way around the track, getting the tyres warmed up. Keeping the revs low though, the last thing you want is an overheating engine on the grid. Tyres and brakes will be the ideal warm components of the car as opposed to the engine. The few drivers there, 7ako and Evby, they will be interesting to watch fight through the grid as we've seen their teammates show some serious pace. And what tyres is everyone on? Well, we've got mediums for all bar two. Arjan and Luke Mills opting to start on the hard tyres. And of course in the new F1 game, now the ability to position your car in your car slot on the, or your grid slot on the grid. So the full decision of how will Vodka angle himself towards the first corner. Will he angle himself to defend or attack his teammate Rillatorn in the front row? How can Kagoda do from the second row? And Tom, are you rejoining us now, Tom?
I am indeed. I had to run and grab a bottle of water just so I can be hydrated for this race, because I got a feeling if it's anything like our season finale to kick off the season this time round, it's going to be fantastic. There are so many storylines going into today, Torin. Can Rillatorn maintain his top spot? How can the Ferraris do? They normally do so well around here, but didn't quite show that pace in qualifying. Maybe they'll have better race pace. Kagoda, what can he do? He'll be heartbroken thinking of, the memories that he's had around here of winning championships, but last time it wasn't a good one. It was a sour one. Other drivers in the mix, such as Lennart and Dan, even the likes of Max Martin and Luke, hoping to do well. Benny as well, after getting dropped from one of the top teams, like people like Max Martin and Lennart. It's going to be a fantastic race.
I was just saying, Tom, as well, the drivers now have the option of angling their car in their own grid slots, which is new for this year's game. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on if anyone tries anything particularly interesting. And in fact, we've got one, the Haas of Zombo, very severely pointing towards 7ako, just ahead of him on the grid. And it's time to go racing in Season 5 of SFR. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights on ahead of the drivers, and all the red lights are out, and away we go for Season 5. And it's a great start then by everyone behind Rillatorn. Not a great start from the championship defender. And there's a bit of contact there between Vodka and Fico as Fico makes his way through. Movers and shakers up and down the grid though. All more or less cleanly through the first few corners. Max Martin and Benny going to blows early on here, as well as having Alex behind trying to make up places. Arjan and Dan Edwin switching all the time. Kagoda still trying to battle his way back into the top 3. He's stuck though in 4th, and Lennart under a bit of pressure now as well from Dan Edwin behind. But Kagoda all over the back of Vodka. Vodka falling down from 2nd to 3rd at the start here. Kagoda's going for an early dive on Vodka. Can he make the move on the second Red Bull car here around the outside? Oh, there's a bit of contact as Vodka looks to defend. Kagoda still battling away. Lennart picking up the scraps. He's on the back of Kagoda here. Can Lennart make a double overtake? Can he overtake either of them? As, Kagoda goes to the inside for the sweeping left-hander. Can he hold on to the grip? Lennart still rubbing his hands together, trying to get involved behind. Not quite able to. Vodka and Kagoda still coming to blows here. This is where Kagoda's championship unfolded here last season. He's pushed wide by Vodka. Lennart goes through around the outside of Kagoda. Can Kagoda battle back? He does. He has the inside line here. Dan Edwin's about to get involved as well. It's all action from the off here. Lennart though keeps 5th place. Kagoda still in 4th as Rillatorn looks to cruise away in the distance. He's already got a second gap to Fico in 2nd.
What a crazy lap. Not what Kagoda would want. Fico, though, great move on Vodka, who didn't get away from the line fantastically, and I think maybe just messed up that first complex. Rillatorn, though, an absolutely perfect start. That is just what he'd want. Hasn't quite broken the DRS, but he's certainly not far off, and I think maybe one more lap, he'll be quite comfortable, maybe sitting around that 1.2, 1.3 margin. But for Fico, these are critical moments for this Grand Prix. He has to try everything he can. Doesn't really matter if he uses up a lot of the tyre to try and keep within that 1 second. We've got here Arjan and Big Sauce battling. They'll want to move past Dan and Lennart, who are still squabbling by the looks of it. A hectic start though, but ultimately everyone's still sticking pretty close together.
Well, Ixie's with an incident there as well. In the early stages, has come in to change his front wing. He's the first driver to make a pit stop. Moves from the medium tyres onto the hard compound tyres, so he'll look to extend that shift for as long as possible. As Vodka falling off the back of the front two here a little bit. FICO desperately trying to get back within the DRS range of Rillatorn. He knows if he can't, if Rillatorn, barring any huge issues, might run away with this. Lennart all over the back of Kagoda. We've got yellow flags in the final corner, and that is the Haas of Zombal, who's around, and he's had a collision with Andrej. The Aston Martin with half a front wing, and the Haas facing the wrong way. It looks like Andrej is the worst off out of that situation.
Yeah, I saw that on the replay tour, and what happened was we've got a different camera angle here with my stream, and it seemed that Zombal maybe just put his foot down slightly too early. He was ahead of Andrej. Andrej was looking, after he'd made that slight mistake from Zombal, to go around the outside of the last two right-handers, but Zombal spun it, and Andrej was really just a passenger, couldn't slow down the car in time.
Absolutely, Tom. Thank you for that insight as well. It's brilliant to have you back for another season. And here we go then. Now we're going to get into this critical point of the Grand Prix. Can you stick within the DRS of the car ahead of you without wearing your tyres to nothing? Waps is between Ixie's and Andrej, interestingly enough. So Waps opting to, I'm assuming, make an early stop there. He has, interestingly enough. Comes out quite some distance ahead of Andrej still. But these three well off of where everyone else is, and Zombal still soldiering on somewhere in the middle. Of course, all these places promoting K-Lot up to 16th. He'll be looking to improve on qualifying. He's up 4 places so far in this race. And this fringe of the points battles could be about to get really tasty. From really Arjan backwards, they are right nose to tail. FICO looking to catch up to Vodka here, get away from Kagoda a bit. Kagoda is more or less equidistant with Vodka now back up into second place. He'll be trying to play the defender role, let Rillatorn run off into the distance. He's already 2.2 seconds clear of his teammate in second, and nothing FICO can do here as we get into the DRS train phase of the race. But here comes Alex on for a move, not quite. He opts to stay behind his fellow Brit Luke Mills in the Williams. A brilliant switchback line through the chicane, and he's through, but not quite just yet, as Luke Mills will have the inside line, but there's nothing he can do to make up for the DRS benefit. As Benny sends to the inside of Max Martin, these two going wheel to wheel through into the final sector, and doesn't quite get the move done. Max Martin keeps 10th place. He'll be catching up to the back of FB, who's already on the back of Arjan as well. As we more or less settle into a phase of, can you stay within DRS while also making your tyres extend to where you want to? And Tom, any early predictions for where you see this going on? Is anyone going to make that crucial stop for an undercut, do you think?
I think there's potential for maybe someone like Kagoda to try it. It depends whether he can get past FICO. I mean, these second, third, and fourth, there's nothing in it at the moment. But maybe if FICO just falls out of the DRS of Vodka, he might want to try something different. I think ultimately, FICO and Kagoda know now that their race is likely going to be with Vodka unless they can do something with the strategy. We're on board right now as Big Sauce is making his way through the field, and he's just passed Dan for a position in the top 6. Still a good job by Dan, and Arjan is fighting with FB. Something to note is FB and Benny got really good starts. They were able to overtake Max Martin, and Luke, who started inside the top 10 but have both fallen out of it since. Luke down to 13th, so not the start that he would want. And yeah, Arjan, he's going to have to start putting pedal to the metal, because once he gets past FB, he's still got just over 2 seconds until he makes it past Dan and ultimately onto the tail of Big Sauce.
Absolutely, Tom. Thank you for that strategy insight. And Kagoda, he's not a multiple-time world champion without having that knowledge of how to do it. He'll know that from the off, it's not really about the race wins. In reality, it's all about the points. So if he can do an undercut that gets him even just ahead of Vodka and not necessarily into the fight with Ridatorn, I wouldn't be surprised to see him do it. They'll probably give it a couple more laps to try and get past FICO as FB makes the call to come into the pits in his Alpine. And a very split weekend as, oh, 7 Echo. And we're going to have a safety car. 7 Echo is retired on track. Completely missed that with our cameras, or from what I've seen. Tom, did you see anything different?
We didn't see anything different, but what I did see is FV being held in the pits for a very long time. Maybe, I mean, he can't have gotten a penalty because we would have seen it. Maybe there was a little bit of damage, but if he was lapping that quick with damage, getting into ninth and battling one of the Ferraris of Arjan, it doesn't surprise me that they've put him on a new set of tyres. And this plays directly into Alpine's hands. They know they've got the pace because Lennart is running in fifth. Why not try something different with FB, who is ridiculously quick around this track? And it seems that it might be playing into their hands. Andrej just coming out of the pits. Looks like he's put on the hard tyres, hopefully trying to go the rest of the way. I believe FB was on that hard tyre compound as well. Let's see if anyone else takes the jump. I doubt people like Lennart and Dan were, because they're the best of the rest. Does someone like Ralatorn pit? Yes, he does. He dives into the pits.
And but Vodka does not. So Vodka and Kagoda continue on. So a split in our title protagonist from last year. Lennart does dive into the pits. Big Saw stays out. So Mercedes opting to pit neither driver. And it's rather alarm bells here for any Formula One fans who, you know, Mercedes don't pit, the Red Bull does. There's a whole storyline there at Abu Dhabi. Benny doesn't pit either. Interesting by Haas. I expected the opposite from Benny's team, as Ridatorn comes out of the pits. Now having made a pit stop, still in 7th place. This honestly feels like a massive strategy blunder by Mercedes on both cars. I'm a bit perplexed as to why they haven't even tried to split the strategy, let alone pit one of the drivers. They must think they've got the pace that they can break down Vodka's defences to run off into the distance a bit. Lennart, having made a pit stop, only behind Kalot. So Kalot, the only car that's managed to get in the way there at all. Williams make the decision to pit Luke Mills. So Luke Mills started on that hard compound tyre. So Williams' estimations must be that the safety car goes on until about lap 10, because he's got to try and make mediums go now from lap 7 until the end at lap 29. And I don't really see how you'd be managing to do 20 laps on a set of medium tyres though, Tom. As we see a massive array of cars here bunching up. And Tom, if you're there, what are your thoughts on the strategy divisions?
It seemed that when Mike was playing up a bit there, but yeah, I mean, Luke, it's quite surprising because that was a golden opportunity for them. He's actually retained his same position on track. He stayed in 13th. So it was a real chance to go onto those hard tyres, as it seems everyone else has. Maybe they're going to go for an aggressive 3-stop and maybe just hope for another safety car. Could happen, because we have seen late safety cars here, and they have sometimes played into the hands of certain drivers. Few names I think definitely to look out for will be Lennart, Max, Martin. They've definitely got the pace. Alex maybe as well, and that Aston Martin could possibly race the Alfa Romeo and Alpine quite hard. Kalot's had a pretty good race so far, I would say, as a rookie. Currently in 9th, obviously he hasn't stopped, but the ones that haven't stopped, so our top 4, Benny in 6th and Kalot, their advantage is going to come at the end of the race, because they'll be obviously having to pit. There's no way they can take 7-lap tyres and do the whole race. They're going to have to pit at some point, but they will have much fresher tyres at the end of the race. And even if some of the drivers that have just pitted decided to pit again, they'll have been making 2 stops in this race, whereas the drivers that have stayed out will only be making 1.
Great shout there, Tomo. And I would imagine as well, and this is just from my side of things, we all know how good Kagoda is at reining in the tyres. Is there a chance Kagoda could get past Vodka at the start? Obviously no DRS and no advantage really other than just pure racing. if he gets those mediums far enough into the race, could he go on to softs to the end? So medium runners and medium starters, which was most of the grid, those who didn't pit maybe with an advantage if they can make their medium tyres last, as a safety car strolls off into the distance. And just take this moment as well to appreciate just how stunning that Alpine livery is. But anyway, back to the action. So Vodka will lead this safety car restart. He'll choose when to go, and after that it will be up to Kagoda and Co to follow. Rillatorn will be desperately trying to get past Benny, Arjan and Dan Edwin to get back into that top 4. Kagoda weaving, well not Kagoda weaving, Kagoda doing the opposite. It is Vodka weaving aggressively, trying to put Kagoda off, trying and not let him guess when he's going to go. Kagoda goes wide on the line to the final corner. Oh, and a moment for Vodka there. That's cost him a bit of traction. Kagoda then in hot pursuit of Vodka. Lap 9 of 29 and the safety car restart. We are going, and Lennart making a move already. Rillatorn past Benny as well into the first corner, and it looks like Arjan could be 2 after not too long. Or FICO rather. Arjan of course well ahead, but here comes Kagoda then all over the back of Vodka as Lennart picks up a 5-second time penalty. It's the first time penalty of a new SFR season, everybody, and it's for ignoring yellow flags. He jumped the gun there clearly with an overtake, I would imagine, or maybe it was before the safety car period, but either way, as here comes Arjan on the inside of Rillatorn. Can he make the move? It looks like he has. Oh, there's a collision, and was Rillatorn included in that? It looked like he might have been. He gets away more or less unscathed, but he's going to be very susceptible here to the bunch of cars behind him, and he is going to be under attack by a whole gaggle of racers here. And we saw a car around now as Dan Edwin span around, as Benny is overtaken by FICO. Rillatorn up to P4, but it looked like it might have been a bit of controversy in that move, bit of collision there as well. Got yellow flags out as there's a spin. Whoops, he almost goes straight into the path of Dan Edwin there, and tumbling down the grid we got another collision here. Test Will involved as well as Alex, and Dan Edwin now down in 17th, only ahead of the Williams and the Aston Martin who had that collision. It's action wall to wall here from the safety car restart. Luke Mills now up to 10th place in the Williams, still trying to chase down Max Martin. A lot of curb there taken by Arjan. And he's going to be under attack from Benny here. Benny looking to get past Max Martin as well. Looking to make a move now. And Arjan is plummeting down the order. Kagoda all over the back of Vodka. Can he make the move? Can Kagoda take the race lead for the first time in Season 5? Yes, he does. Kagoda into the lead. The multiple-time champion. No longer the defending champion. At the same time, Rillatorn makes a move on Big Sauce. And imagine Red Bull might invert the positions here to get Rillatorn back towards the race lead. And wow, what a restart. Arjan gets back past Benny, but he's done it off track. Don't know if that's going to be any questioning, but we've also now got a penalty for Arjan as he loses another couple of places around the outside. Benny and Luke Mills going around the outside of him. Almost a collision between the Haas and the Williams. Not quite though. But Benny, the big loser out of the 3. Luke Mills all the way up to 8th now, still chasing Max Martin.
I mean, Tyron, I need to let you catch your breath. This has been so hectic, this restart. I mean, we know safety cars always are, but I mean, this is absolutely crazy. Arjan losing out massively. It just shows how much you can lose from staying on those tyres. As it looked like possibly he was having a little bit of a slide there out of the last corner. And is this coordinated switching by the Red Bulls that, if it's not, they're extremely close to one another? Surely into turn 5 they'll be inverting the positions. And it looks like they are, yeah, well coordinated, but it's given a run around the outside for FICO. Can he make a move here? It's going to be really close.
Around the outside. He does before the DRS zone, and now he'll have DRS on Rillatorn. And that's, well, I mean, but we now got a battle for first. Actually, not enough time to reflect on the team order school. Kagoda around the outside goes Rillatorn. Kagoda has the inside line. He goes deep to try and keep Rillatorn behind. He has managed to almost contact between the 2 championship protagonists from last season. FICO right on the back of them both now as well. The Ferrari will be looking to get involved. Rillatorn will look to sweep around the outside of Kagoda here with DRS. Through goes Rillatorn around the outside. Can Kagoda do anything to answer that? He can't. He's got to defend from FICO behind. Rillatorn looks like he might be about to run away with the lead once again. FICO on the back of Vodka, or rather Lennart on the back of Vodka. FICO on the back of Kagoda. And this top 5 nose to tail, Big Sauce trying to defend from Luke Mills, who's finally gone past Max Martin, who's down to 10th place. Kagoda overtaken by Rillator on that lap though, after some, well, Red Bull bringing in team orders on the opening round. And that's a clear statement of intent of how Red Bull intend to defend that title. Which want to divide the audience a little bit there. You team orders on the first round, Tom. Have you got any thoughts on that usage?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a tricky one because it ultimately has cost Vodka, as we see FICO and Kagoda still battling away. But Vodka, not only has he lost positions to these two, he's also lost a position to Lennart. Hopefully, he'll be able to gain that back pretty quickly. As FICO, a beautiful move up the inside, and he'll still retain DRS importantly. But Kagoda will have the slipstream. Does he fancy a chance up the inside? No, ultimately not. Just sticks behind him for now. As we saw Luke Mills there just battling away with Big Sauce. He's been able to keep that position. Really great stuff from Luke Mills, but ultimately, as you've previously mentioned, Tori, and that's going to come back to bite him later on. Those medium tyres, I think, are going to struggle to go the distance. FB battling away with Iggy's in his fight to regain his spot back in the top 10 as he lost it on the restart, along with Dan. Real shame for him to jump out of the top 10 as these guys are really battling away. This is great to watch. These two, as there's a little bit of a moment for FB. Does that invite one of these two back in? They're pushing each other to the absolute limit. Nothing between Zombel and Iggy's. And I think they have to go single file into this last sector and last section of the track. And all of this fighting, Torin, for not even points, just 11th and 12th place.
Well,
Great
here
stuff.
comes one with something to battle for here, Tom. It's a battle for the podium. Lennart is all in that top 3, I think. Mercedes have made what appears to be a cataclysmic mistake in their strategy. Both drivers plummeting. Unbelievable here. A team that has won championship after championship. They've gotten their homegrown talent Kagoda back. He's returned to the team and he's down to 4th. Lennart in the Alpine into the top 3. And other than that, some action behind as Arjan makes the move on Benny. Does force him to go deep into the corner. Max Martin is now going to go around the outside of Benny. Both of them will try and chase down Arjan into the sweeping left-hander. Both will have DRS on Arjan as well. But it'll mainly be a battle between the Haas and the Alfa Romeo. And Benny concedes to try and get a switchback. It doesn't work out in the end for him. But Lennart now over 2 seconds behind FICO. And realistically, it's now looking like a battle for the win between Rillator and FICO. Unless we have another safety car intervention. And I personally, Tom, can't quite believe this. As Luke Mills moves up into 5th place because Vodka has come into the pits for another set of tyres. He goes on a set of hard tyres then. And those will likely see him through to the end now as he makes his first and I'm sure Red Bull will be having final stop of the race. But of the other one-stoppers, Vodka is falling well beyond the group of one-stoppers. In fact, he comes out behind Alex, so down in 16th. So he's going to have quite the amount of traffic to carve through here.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about this strategy, if I'm being honest, Torin. They decided to keep him out, but I don't know if it was the right call, as we're currently watching Max Martin in his attempt to pass Arjan. Obviously, he's still with that penalty. I want to shout out Benny. Great job after being knocked out of Q2. He's running very solidly in 9th and Andrade as well to try and put some points on the board for Aston Martin. But yeah, he's going to have a hell of a lot of work. He will need a Checo level drive back if he wants to stand on the podium. But got to remember that on those fresh tyres, everyone else will probably have to pit once more. And if they don't pit, especially those that use the safety car to go onto those hard tyres, they'll be paying the price at the end, and might mean that for Vodka it could be some easy pickings.
That's Kagoda. Makes that move then. Mercedes finally call him in. 14 laps to go. What tyres are they opting for? And it's the hard compound of tyres. I can't understand why Mercedes made this decision. They've all along had they clearly didn't have the choice of the softs. To pit neither of them to hards doesn't make much sense to me, but there we go. As it stands though, Lennart 4.6 seconds back to Luke Mills. So actually, as it stands, Lennart would he would almost rather keep his podium position. FICO all over the back of, oh, never mind what he's all over the back of, because that is the Williams of Waps rather. So the Williams and Waps into the wall on the start finish straight of VSC has been triggered as Kagoda comes out of the pits. Almost timed it just right, not quite. It does come out ahead of Vodka though, which could be quite decisive with a lap newer tyres. And yeah, I mean, we were about to see a move or a battle for the lead, at least between Rillatorn and FICO once again. That's been neutralised, rather perfect timing. But it gives them both a chance to cool their tyres, get them back down maybe to a more ideal temperature than they were at. As Max Martin feeding under the VSC, he's got a drive-through penalty. And that's our third penalty of the top 5, but our 5th penalty so far. Some things never change in SFR, and it seems that time penalties are one of them.
You're absolutely right, Tor, and it seemed to be a constant. But one of the things I want to point out there, a sort of minor strategy battle, is between Kagoda and Vodka. We knew that coming into the pits, Kagoda, his battle would actually be coming out and racing with Vodka. What that virtual safety car did was give time for Kagoda to warm up his tyres, and it didn't mean he had to battle Vodka on cold tyres, as they're extremely close on track, Torrent. I'm not quite sure what's going on or whether you can see, but not only are we watching FICO and Rillatorn almost under a tenth at the end of the back straight, Vodka and Kagoda are extremely close on track as well.
Yeah, Kagoda making a very gutsy move there to get past Zomble, get a car between the two of them. FICO played DRS games there to have DRS on Rillatorn here, and he's still not going for the move. So I think FICO's just biding his time a bit here and allowing Rillatorn to back him up, because he's not under pressure from behind. He's got a huge gap to Lennart behind. Knows he's got the pace in the car. Max Martin looking to make a move on Arjan here once again. These two still battling. Benny's still involved. Benny goes around the outside of Max Martin, takes 6th place back. This is a hugely entertaining battle between these three. Didn't expect to see a Ferrari, a Haas, and Alfa Romeo fighting each other. All with the Ferrari power unit, of course, but still a very interesting battle to watch.
Vodka's past Kagoda. It happened at the second chicane. He's passed.
Unbelievable. So Vodka makes the move past Kagoda, and that could be decisive because, well, Vodka's job has been so far to back up everyone to keep Rillatorn safe. And well, I mean, if he put the brakes on now, neither of them would score points, which I don't think is what Red Bull would want, but it would still keep Kagoda out of the points. As Andrej moves up to 7th place, with Max Martin coming into the pits then, in the Alfa Romeo, and Rillatorn, once again, being towed, or rather, giving the tow along to FICO. FICO still within DRS, still not looking to make that move, as Tom has clearly seen something that's caught his eye. Go on, Tom.
Yeah, whilst you're watching that, I think this works perfectly, Tor, and I'm still watching this battle between Vodka and Kagoda as you're watching the top two, and they were just navigating past Testville that was proving to be a bit of a problem. Vodka followed him through the whole way through the final sector, eventually got past coming onto the back straight. Does Kagoda go for a move? No, just going to bide his time, closes the DRS. There was a possibility for a move there, but I think he's maybe just playing the safe game at the moment. He knows that these two have ground and, more importantly, time to make if they want to get onto the podium. Saying that, though, he's going round the outside of Vodka, and it's actually a pretty easy move. He's fully alongside. Going into the long left-hander, shuts down the DRS, and he's comfortably ahead. Next on the track for them is Evby, and it won't be long until they're on the back of him. They're already under a second.
Thanks for that, Tom. That was brilliant coverage of that battle further down the order. Those two absolute titans of this season going wheel to wheel for 9th place. In comes to the pits then. Oh, Arjan would have lost a lot of time there. Andrej would have as well. Andrej had a twitch in the final corner, but Arjan went too far into the pit lane and outbraked himself a little bit. Kagoda then gets past FB, as does Vodka, costing him a little bit of time though. So a bit of a time gap then for Kagoda. Back to Vodka now. Andrej, the next one on Kagoda's overtaking list, as the battle at the front still remains less than half a second. Rillatorn not really buying into FICO's tactics here. He's kind of the two of them are lifting so early at the end of that straight because Riddertorn knows exactly what game is being played as. Oh, Kagoda makes an early move, an early double overtake on Andrej and Benny. Vodka can't clear either of them there, and he's still got FB behind him. This could be quite big here for Vodka because, not for Vodka, sorry, but for Kagoda and for Vodka because Vodka's got a lot of cars in his way now, and Benny's been really punchy so far. Oh, it's a collision! Vodka into the back of Benny, Benny's around! And Vodka loses the place to FB as well. Has he got damage on the front wing of that Red Bull? It doesn't look like it.
Test Will's been caught up as well. Test Will, who was just on the verge of points in 10th, he's been spun round as well.
Oh, yeah, as you say, Test Will down to 13th now, back with his teammate. But a collision there for Vodka, and that's going to set him back. It might not have any damage to his car, but it's going to set him back further, and he does come into the pits on this lap, Tom. So that frees Kagoda up now. And, well, the cars in front likely won't stop again, as we've got Riddertorn, FICO and Lennart all on 12-lap-old hards. You'd imagine 10 more laps on over. Pretty easy as FICO finally makes the move for the lead on Riddertorn, but Riddertorn will get DRS back here. This will be one to watch into this sweeping left-hander. It's been a huge overtaking spot so far in this race. Got yellow flags on the start-finish straight as well, but that's all cleared up by the looks of it. Riddertorn then, with the DRS, looking to make a move on FICO. Might not have the pace, has to concede and stay behind for now, but it'll bide his time. 10 laps to go in this race and they'll be thrilling, no doubt. Kagoda, 8 laps newer tyres. Can he somehow get back into this battle?
I'm sure he might be able to, Tor, and I want to bring your attention to Vodka very quickly. He's pitted, but he's gotten out behind Andrej. Andrej alongside Benny, those that are pitting that were in that sort of bottom of the top 10 fight. That could be really interesting to keep an eye on for the end of this race, as we've got Max Martin. He's taken his drive-through penalty, pitted, but it seems the power of new tyres is so effective around here, as we're 3 wide into the long left-hander. Alex having to take the inside road, he's spun out. Alex has spun out. That's probably the chance of points in the bin. That gives the position to Ferrari of Arjan, who goes into 12th. And we've got Iggy's and Max Martin still fighting away then. That's probably settled just for now as they enter that tight and twisty final section of the track. Can Riddertorn dive up the inside? He's catching. Not sure if he's going to go for a move here. And he's just going to stay behind for now.
Yes, as you say, Riddertorn stays behind by the time he knows what his second DRS section. We very nearly had an incident there as Alex rejoined the track, nearly went into the path of Vodka as the first drivers onto the soft tyres now. Benny and Andrej trying anything to try and get any points out of this race, even just 10th place for that 1 point. And this looks like it's going to come down to the final lap here. Lennart has finally broken that 5 seconds back to Luke Mills. So we've no longer got a Williams on the podium. It's an Alpine on the podium, but we might still have a Williams in the top 4, which would be quite an unbelievable result when you look at how last season went for them. As I say, 9 laps to go though still here, and that story has not had its ending written yet. There could still be plenty to come here. This is SFR after all. 8 laps is a lot of time for some chaos to unfold, as we're all too used to, as Iggy's get past Max Martin, and what was such a promising weekend for Max Martin, it's just come undone from a bit in the race. He's got 5 laps in the tyres than Iggy's though, so I'm sure he'll get that place back. And Arjan with that 5-second penalty, so Max Martin might still be on for at least a point here. Tess well into the top 10. AlphaTauri could really do with some early points here. Their car does look like it's taking a step back from last season, as Luke Mills, as predicted, does come into the pits. It's another set of medium tyres for the Williams driver. Where will he come out? He may well come out ahead of Zombel. In fact, he does. So Luke Mills out into 7th place on brand new medium tyres. Can he get those places back though? I doubt he'll get back ahead of Kagoda, but he might have a chance to get back ahead of Big Sauce and FB. That'll be one to watch towards the end of the race, as Riddertorn still just sitting behind FICO. Can't really say I fully understand why FICO made the decision to make the overtake when he did, unless of course Ferrari and FICO thought they had the pace to run away with it a bit. Now Lennart well and truly safe from 5 seconds behind, as he's got to go to 12.4 seconds behind him, but that lap constantly coming down. 8 laps to go, he's got 12 seconds to find, so he would have to find a couple seconds a lap minimum in order to take the podium today. And I think it's going to be a more difficult challenge for Kagoda this time around. Probably his most difficult challenge yet. But Vodka battling away with Andrej. And Andrej, ooh, keeps it around the outside of Vodka on those soft tyres, really showing the grip advantage. Oh, speaking of grip advantage, a grip disadvantage for Max Martin. He spins off, gets going again, no, but he's going to fall behind his teammate K-Lot. And Max Martin's weekend, it's like deja vu. A hugely impressive qualifying, a great first stint, but a few mistakes, and it all becomes unravelled.
It absolutely does, Torin. That's a big shame for Max Martin. He seems so quick this weekend, and he falls just behind then his rookie teammate K-Lot, who still has that penalty. This could really heat up. Betty is putting on the pace with those new tyres. As Rulator, does he go for a move? No, I think both me and you, Torin, know his game plan now. It's just going to be to sit behind and wait for the right moment to pounce. They're not coming under any pressure from Lennart as Luke Mills going for a great move.
He makes the move on Big Sauce and he makes it look easy while he's at it. One of these front two's going to have to change the helmet design. No, we can't have this many Miami helmets running around the track. I know it's a nice design, fellas, but you all look the same. But back to the action then, as we've got the Aston Martin of Andrej looking to make a move on Test Wheel, and he does put Test Wheels around. There's a collision with the rear wheel of Andrej, and Test Wheel goes back behind Iggy's. Alpha Tauri's start of the season looking bleak once again. Vodka up to 10th place now, and Andrej will be looking to catch back up to Vodka, but Zombo is the next one on Vodka's attention, as we've got some close racing here. FB under huge pressure by Luke Mills with Big Sauce behind as well. So 5th through 7th here, nose to tail. Kagoda in no man's land. He's not gaining enough. Get an overtake on track on Lennart, but he might still do enough to get into the podium with that penalty. He only needs to find another 5.6 seconds or so. Then he gets back ahead of Test Will on the medium, on the soft tyres rather, as this melee looks to explode. Luke Mills with DRS here on almost brand new mediums. He doesn't even need DRS, he's already ahead of FB. Here comes Big Sauce as well. FB looking at losing 2 places in as many corners, and he does. Big Sauce makes the move, goes on through, and he'll now look to get past Luke Mills. Big Sauce could have the recovery drive of dreams here. Mercedes could actually end up with a pretty impressive point haul, considering what looked like a huge strategy blunder. And Lennart's tyres are double the age of Kagoda's, yet he's pulling away from Kagoda still. So those hards could actually be coming into their prime now around this time of their lifespan. Of course, those safety car intervals will have impacted that, as Vodka dispenses of Zombel, gets himself up to 9th place. The recovery drive from the Red Bull driver as well. And Trillion, Lennart, a 3-second time penalty now. So he's now up to 5 seconds worth of time penalties. So now Kagoda only needs to find 2.7 seconds on Lennart, because 8 seconds worth of penalties will drop Lennart off the podiums. And he might actually still be able to hold on. Rudderthorn and FICO, playing their game, though, have actually got an Aston Martin for company behind them. So they could actually lose out. They could end up being unlapped here. Rulatorn still looking to try and make a move. He can't. This lapped car looking like it could get involved, and something about lap cars at Abu Dhabi being involved is again rather reminiscent. But nevertheless, FICO still defending valiantly, but that Aston Martin looks like he wants to unlap himself. I think that might be actually the Aston Martin of, if I'm not mistaken, is the Aston Martin of
It's Alex.
Alex, sorry. And he's chasing after Waps. FB gets a penalty as Andrej makes the move on Zombel.
Yeah, this is tightening up. We've just seen Andrej, Torin, if I can interject for a split second, overtake Zombel. So he's now into the top 10.
Yeah, spot on. So Aston Martin looking to get some points. I think they would have been expecting it from Alex today, the points, but he's got that penalty and is currently sat in last. He's finally going to get to battle with Alex. Or with Waps, rather. Alex not battling with himself, he's battling with Waps. And Waps and Alex side by side here. Alex with a significant tyre advantage, both with DRS. Here comes Rulatorn. He makes the move on FICO. down towards the braking zone, both on equally as old hard tyres. Got that battle of the lapped cars in the background as well. What's FICA going to do here? Is Rillathorn's game plan to make that move and try and run away into the distance? Because if he can, FICO will miss out on a win here. Just tactically, the games being played could play out not in his favour. And Rillathorn keeps ahead. FICO still well within DRS though. Kagoda now only 1.4 seconds off of getting that podium place off of Lennart. Lennart looking like his tyres have maybe finally hit that cliff edge. And it could be interesting to see how much longer can those pretty hard tyres hold on. Zombel on the oldest ones now on 21 laps use. These top two of course have been racing them maybe a little bit harder than Zombel has. But it'll really now be up to how much longer can these tyres hold on for. Lennart still on the podium by about 1.2 seconds with 3 laps to go. Kagoda will know those few points could mean everything come the end of the season. And Rillathorn already pulling away from FICO. It could even be that FICO doesn't get DRS here, Tom. No, maybe not quite. FICO pulling it back. I think he noticed on the timing screens that he was losing out. It's just within a second, but barely. FICO is going to need to gain on Rillathorn a massive amount here, and he might be able to, because of course Rillathorn is going to be a sitting duck without DRS. As FICO may even look to make a move here, but that Red Bull looks like it's imperious in its performance. Kagoda now 0.7 of a second behind Lennart. That's hotting up a little bit, not quite on track action we would have wanted, but still exciting to follow along, as FICO not able to gain time there on Rillathorn with DRS. So Rillathorn might just be safe here, Tom.
Yeah, he might be. I think you're exactly right, Torin, in saying that he's just chosen his moment, waited for the tyres. He's just bided the tyres, bided the time, and now he's gone, do you know what? Right, I'm going to overtake you, and I'm going to try and get a gap. Let's see if you can follow me. And it's worked so far. He just needs to save FICO within that DRS. He's got 3, or 2 goes at it rather, to stay with Rillathorn, and he's going to be hoping that that will be enough just to stay within a second, but he just drops
He's
out of it
outside a
now.
second now, and that could be it. That could be the race decided as long as Rillathorn doesn't step a foot wrong. And we know he's pretty good at doing that when he's under pressure, as we saw last year as the two has swap positions. Benny, of course, on those significantly better tyres, 7-lap old softs versus 22-lap old hards. It's not really a competition, but he's still a long way off of Andrej, who is on the same amount of worn softs, so I wouldn't imagine that will amount to much. As Alex is now between Rillathorn and FICO.
Yeah, it seems like on obviously new softs. There's a lap to himself. He's got pace as Dan falls down to 17th. One battle I want to point out that's really hotting up now is Arjan, who's got him past Evby, as we see Dan with a slight moment there, a bit of contact. But more importantly, Vodka is looking to overtake Evby, and with those penalties applied, he could be on to not only 7th, but with those newer tyres, possibly catch Big Sauce and creep into the top 6.
Well, Alex has gone flying off there as blue flags waved in his face. Almost 2 seconds now down to Rillathorn to FICO, as Kagoda makes his way into the Lennart penalty realm and will now gain that 3rd place finish as it stands currently. With only 2 laps remaining then. Rillathorn looking like he's going to start off where he left off with a win in Abu Dhabi and a Red Bull. It's not been as convincing as I think I thought it was going to be. Definitely not compared to the Q3 performance and where he found all of that time. So to battle away a bit of a complicated strategy game that I think Mercedes potentially could have done better on, and I think they'll leave relatively happy with their result of 4th and 6th, especially after a difficult weekend in Big Sauce's first weekend back. But after a season out, not bad at all. 6th place and ahead of Arjan as it stands, as well as ahead of Vodka. That could be huge for the constructors further down the line. FICO now over 2 seconds behind, so I think it's safe to say that battle for the lead is over, and Rillathorn now just needs to cruise it home. And that's something he has more than enough experience in his championship winning season last time out in season 4. It did go down to the wire, but he was very composed throughout the season. K-Lot, the only driver now actually with DRS on the grid, and that's on his teammate Max Martin for 13th place. So I wouldn't imagine that one will be hotting up anytime soon. So bar any mistakes, this could be your finishing grid. Only the Alpha Tauris and the Alfa Romeos, funnily enough, the two teammates within DRS realm, DRS zone of each other. So on to the final lap we go. Rillatorn, 2.2 second lead. It looks like, if you look at it from that it's been a dominating race, but it hasn't. It's been complicated for him. He's had to work for it, and he's done fantastically to do so. Had to keep FICO behind. K-Lot makes the move on Max Martin. The two Alfa Romeo switching positions for 13th and 14th. As we've got 2 by 2 from 11th down to 16th. It's quite a satisfying look as Rillatorn running away over here. 2.5 seconds clear of FICO in second place. Nothing the Ferrari driver can do, but for Ferrari, it'll be more or less where they left off. They got the Constructors' title last time out, didn't get the Driver's title. Kokoda just missing out, as we say, in that rather disastrous ending for him. It's not been much of a change in fortune now. No collision, no dramatic final lap by the looks of things, but still a third place finish as he inherits third off of Lennart after those penalties. A great drive from Lennart as well in the Alpine. Just needs to get rid of those mistakes that have caused him to get these time penalties. But here comes Rillatorn then. The reigning champion in the Red Bull. What more can we say? He started where he intended to, and it's where he left off on the top step in a Red Bull. Through the final two corners now comes Rillatorn. It's a pole to win, but it wasn't as easy as he would have liked it to be. Across the line goes Rillatorn. He starts in style with a win here in Abu Dhabi in Season 5. Lennart across the line in third with FICO in second. Kokoda well within even just those 5 seconds now, 4.2 seconds down on Lennart. So barring no mistakes in the final corner from Kokoda, he'll take third, and actually Lennart takes another 5 seconds for good measure. So he'll drop to fourth, and here comes one of the performances of the weekend. Luke Mills in the Williams of all cars, crossing the line to finish fifth on track. Doesn't quite do enough to take fourth off of Lennart, but a hugely impressive result and performance from the Williams driver. Big Sauce in sixth place on his return to the track. Arjan will drop behind Vodka with those penalties. Vodka recovers to seventh. FB looking like it might be a ninth place finish with Arjan rounding out the top 10 points for Aston Martin, or a singular point rather, on their return to SFR in the new season. Haas with 11th and 12th, almost in the points, agonisingly close to a point as the two Alpha Tauris divide the Alfa Romeos here, and they're battling all the way to the end. Max Martin, though, picking up a time penalty, so he might drop further back. He will, in fact, drop behind Dan Edwin down to 17th as Dan Edwin drifts across the line. Well, maybe not as dramatic of a race as we were expecting, Tom. A few huge moments and excitement, but in the end, Rillatorn finishes in the lead.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a crazy race in terms of strategy. So many different scenarios playing out with the virtual safety car and the safety car. Drivers opting to survive on tyres for the rest of the race. Others going for undercut, and others pitting at the last few moments and just seeing how many positions they could make up. Do you feel slightly bad for Vodka? I think, you know, with a slightly better strategy, he would have been more amongst it. But one thing I'd like to point out, Torin, is with Luke's result in that Williams, they're only 1 point off scoring what they did the whole of last season to finish ninth for the Constructors in one race. Absolutely incredible performance by himself. Alpine as well, Lennart, he'll be very, very thankful for those points as they try and retain fifth in the standings and maybe even jump. Alfa Romeo had a bit of a dismal weekend. Nice bit of pace from the Haas, very unlucky for them, but ultimately though, it was Rillatorn that was at the top. Do you know what though? FICO, maybe he'll be leaving slightly disappointed. I think the gap at the line doesn't tell the full story. There was a very, very close race between those two, an ultimate mental battle of deciding when they wanted to go and how well they could keep the tyres. Do you know what? It sets up for a scintillating season where if Mercedes can maybe get their strategy right and on a circuit that suits them, it just shows behind the wheel of especially Kokoda, they can challenge the top two teams.
Absolutely, Tom, and that was rounded up perfectly by you. That roundup really personifying the season that we're looking at having? Well, last time that we raced at Abu Dhabi, it was Relatorn winning in the Red Bull again. But it was also the race that we sort of bowed out of commentary. You fancy same time next week, Tom?
I would love same time next week. I cannot wait to be back. Do you know what? I think we can call this a bit of a success. The first time that we've done this remotely, but it hasn't taken away from any of the excitement. Cannot wait to be back next weekend. It's going to be a scintillating race, I'm sure. And yeah, Relatorn back on top, but behind him, it's all change.
Well, we will be back in 1 week's time at the Austrian Grand Prix. Sprint race weekend there. So we'll no doubt bring some excitement. Join us then. Until then, we'll see you later.